grams of butter, electric mixer, baking tray, cooling rack. Simple step 1, heat oven to 800 degrees Fahrenheit.
We spoke to people from various ages and backgrounds to understand their perspectives about farmers and agriculture. We want to showcase who farmers are and how we actively collaborate with various segments of the pork value chain to ensure that pork is produced in a sustainable manner and that food safety standards is adhered to across the value chain.
Ek dink dit was Hippocrates wat gesê het, let food be thy medicine and medicine thy food.
We invited experts to share their views on sustainability and specific themes like food safety. They form part of an ecosystem that contributes to having a country that's well fed.
The ultimate goal would be to serve meals that won't make patients sick. Right, so it should be free of bacteria, but free of parasites or viruses that will be harmful to the consumer. Food safety doesn't only start at home, it's actually from farm to fork and all the processes in between.
Obviously, the animals are slaughtered in a humanely manner. It's obviously cleaned and staff was sent it must now obviously to the butchery that's obviously licensed and know what they are doing.
I care about it if it's from a tuck shop, but if it's from a store, then I would trust it.
They know they are a business, they have to make money, they have to make their business name stand there, so I don't think they would
There's no way of knowing for sure, and it comes down to the moral compass of the producers and whether or not consumers trust them or not.
Sometimes people are concerned about the fact, are the food safe that we purchase from ourselves? But South Africans can be very proud of our high standards that we have. The Department of Agriculture, Forestry, Fishery, Department of Health, Department of Trade and Industry, they have very clear set guidelines, legislations, standards, and all of those standards and acts and legislations are underpinned by international standards, which we call the Codex Alimentaris, of which South Africa is also part of. When you purchase safe food from the shelves and it goes home, on micro level, there's a responsibility.
Hygiene is
I really wash my hands regularly.
Every time you're done maybe playing with a dirty ball or touching the wall or something dirty, you wash your hands.
The word antimicrobial means
the people act.
Personal hygiene, proper food handling practices, and just in general, following hygiene measures at home is quite important. Because I think sometimes people will say, oh, the food I purchased at X, Y, and Z made me sick, but they don't really reflect on what they did with it when they took it home.
One event, one bad product equates a trend. One post on social media can upend an entire value chain or an entire retailer. As South Africans, we should ensure that children have access to nutritious food, but we should also ensure that one day our children, our grandchildren, have access to nutritious food.
Het is belangrijk om een kos te eet, want dan word je sterker en groter.
So my area of expertise is specifically maternal, infant and young child nutrition. So first of all, I do see infants and their mothers in a hospital, very clinical setting, and it's at a tertiary hospital, so we see the most severe cases there. Infants that have not received optimal nutrition for very long periods of time. Young children that have a lack of protein in their diets and they then become stunted, which is when you don't reach your optimal length for your age. There are many micronutrient deficiencies that can occur when we start excluding especially meat products in our diets. And those children then sometimes don't excel at school. They just fall behind. And at the end of the day, that has a ripple effect.
Miskien jy het nie geëet in die morning of so nie, dan jy kan nie fokus nie, because jy is so gekonsentreer, like, wat gaan aan by die huis, wat is my volgende meal of so, wat jy nie eintlik fokus nie. Ek is van Easterfie, daar waar die gangsterism so te mekaar is, wat, ja, ek is daarvan. I do see a lot of poverty and people struggling, and that, like I said, it leads to people making bad decisions. Dit pla my eintlik, because ek voel ek wil 'n verandering maak, of ek wil uit die plek uitkom.
If we look at why food safety is actually important and the impact that it can have, unfortunately, it's disproportionately lies towards our poorer communities and in our low and middle income countries. And the problem there is those are the areas where malnutrition are already a very big problem.
It is emotionally wrecking to work with infants and their mothers or parents or caregivers, because many times there's also, as a healthcare worker, it's not that they don't want to care and that they don't want to provide for that child. It's just really that there are no means to do it.
In our country, food vendors plays a crucial role in terms of food security and giving access to foods to people, specifically in poorer communities where they can't get to a retail shop, for example. So the question is, why should we be concerned? Informal vendors can source the products that they sell from perhaps unregulated suppliers, which would not be the case if you purchase food from major food retailers. The consumer or customer that goes to informal vendor has the right to ask the questions. Where did the food come from? Where did you source it from? How long has it been standing here? When did you prepare it? Then informal vendors might start to think, perhaps we need to change something here.
Each of these experts plays a part in educating the value chain, but also consumers around food production in South Africa. What we have here is very unique circumstances, and what will work in South Africa will be a South African solution that's unique to our environment. We need to highlight practices that safeguard the dignity of people or animals. And that is ultimately a future that we need to aspire to, is where South Africans can access affordable food and healthy food and make conscious decisions about their diets.
I'm off the hook. You are? Okay.